This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Well, folks, we're right in the middle of flu season. And of course, 100 years ago, we were in the midst of that flu pandemic that wiped out millions of folks around the world. So the flu was on their minds too 100 years ago. So I came across this article. It was very interesting on how to avoid the flu, tips to avoid the flu. And in the same paper were mentions of folks who had been lost to the flu. So I thought that would make a very interesting story for you.
1918 wore on. There is just no other way to say it. The World War was enough. Americans were being sent to Europe by the thousands. The majority of those young men had never been out of the county, and now they were in England and France, places they had only imagined seeing one day, but not like this. The world was in chaos. How could it be any worse? But it could be worse. Much, much worse. And Kansas was the center of it. The first cases of the Spanish influenza were recorded in Haskell County and Fort Riley. In March, hundreds of soldiers became ill with severe flu-like symptoms, but the crisis passed. Boys were shipped overseas, but once the soldiers were in Europe, the deadly disease may have mutated, and it slayed more men than bullets. But it wasn't only the soldiers. The civilians in Europe became ill. Then the families at home became ill. A few at first, then more and more. The war had put the whole world in motion, and that spread the disease quickly. By fall, it had come full circle, back to Kansas. People traveled from town to town to care for ailing relatives. Sometimes they returned on the train, believing loved ones were on the road to recovery, only to find word at home that they had passed. The flu casualties became so frequent that newspapers ran columns of obituaries. The numbers were staggering, but each one was a profound tragedy. A young mother of 6 dying as her children were in the throes of the flu. The death of the doctor treating his community. 4 sons in one family. Little May Irene Lawrence, 4 years old. The children, the weak, the small, the old, the strong, the young. It touched everyone. Secretary of the State Board of Health, Samuel Crumbine, admonished the public to take precautions to slow the spread of the disease. News outlets repeated the guidelines about washing hands, not congregating in churches, theaters, schools. Common sense tips like covering the mouth and nose with a handkerchief when sneezing. Germs were not all that was being spread. Paranoia and speculation about the source of the flu led some to speculate that it was a tool of the German war chest. There were reports that doctors and nurses at Fort Riley were actually German agents spreading the deadly disease. Anti-German sentiment was rampant, and Kansas was full of Germans. Many who still spoke German quickly stopped speaking it in public. Others stopped speaking it altogether. Many avoided being seen in public at all for fear of reprisal. And yet, 1918 wore on, and no one could imagine how the year would end.
This segment brought to you by the Arab Shrine Circus, coming to the Kansas Expo Center February 15th through the 18th. For ticket information, visit ArabShrineCircus.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, it's Shrine Circus time! Enjoy a weekend of thrills, chills, and tons of fun at the Kansas Expo Center February 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. See lions and tigers, elephants, high-flying trapeze artists, and watch a man shot out of a cannon. And Johnny Rocket, everyone's favorite, is back! For more information, visit ArabShrineCircus.com and be sure to thank our corporate sponsor, Security Benefit, the Arab Shrine Circus. Don't you dare miss it!